Yeah, boy.
Today we'll be taking a look at the top 5 one-handed axes in Outward Definitive Edition. These are the very fast chopping weapon type that rewards aggressive gameplay. Moving quickly and you'll be able to stagger enemies instantly with 3-hit combos. The weird thing about these weapons though is that they don't have the standard powerhouses you see with other weapons. Instead, you have several different axes that stand above the rest for offering unique stats. The simple axe is also very useful because you gain access to a skill called Talus Cleaver. This deals good damage while weakening your opponent to physical attacks by 25% and slowing them by 50% for around 10 seconds. This makes them very useful to get into a fight and have some decent advantage over even tougher monsters. The one-handed axe is truly a master of impact and rapid combo attacks. So here are the 5 you might want to take a closer look at. At number 5, we have the Living Wood Axe. This is a weapon unlike any other in Outward. It can only be looted in the various loot containers in Enmerker Forest. Any cave in that region can have it, but at a pretty low rate. It's the only living wood weapon, making me wonder if it holds some more significance. Maybe it was used by warriors of old, or maybe it's a reward from the land itself to those who respect the forest. Either way, it has a cool wood into metal look that stands out. Unfortunately, it has these leaves hanging off the side that don't fully attach, which looks very off-putting. But I try not to focus on it. The real reason for this guy being on this list is it offers negative 10% mana cost. It's pretty common for weapons such as staves to help you reserve mana. But you don't have very many one-handed weapons. In fact, I can only think of 3 off the top of my head. This axe also deals ethereal damage, which can help out against various enemies. The main issue is that its durability and damage are not great. You don't kill things very quickly with it, and it will break after hardly any combat at all, with only 175 durability. Because of this, I prefer to use it on my heavy mage-focused characters, just to reduce the mana cost a bit, and using this guy can get you up to the point where you have nearly infinite mana. You can also use the Living Wood Axe if you always buff it with a varnish. The damage isn't too bad then, but I still wouldn't recommend it for a melee-focused build only. This is one of those weapons that speaks to mages, and I always thought it was a pretty good item to pair with the Lightmender's Lexicon for a decent rune build. But please don't sell it if you find one. It can be very uncommon to see sometimes. At number 4, we have the Marble Axe. On its own, this weapon is not all that special, but once enchanted with Weightless, it has a very fast attack speed that makes it great at staggering enemies. It's purely physical damage focused, but with that 1.1 attack speed, it will get some very heavy attacks that feel good. Another super interesting thing about the Marble Axe is it is one of the longer one-handed axes. Turns out this weapon type has some of the shortest weapons in the game. They might slice very quickly, but you must get really close to your enemy to be effective. The Marble Axe, on the other hand, almost feels like a sword. It has great length and can continue hitting enemies after you stagger them, which is another issue axes have. After using their special combo attacks, most enemies will be knocked backwards. If you continue to swing out of habit, they will be out of range and force you to waste a good attack window. Due to that extra reach, the Marble Axe avoids this issue more often and gives you some ability to get greedy. I think it's a pretty clean looking weapon that goes well with candleplate armor and has very nice durability. As a huge fan of impact in combat, I can say this guy feels fantastic. Only 2 or 3 hits to stagger monsters and all the while taking chunks out of their health. Be sure to hang on to this one if you find it. The spawn location is only in ornate chests from Enmerker Forest caves. Or it also has a chance to be sold in Harmattan, although it might take the weaponsmith a while to sell it. At number 3, we have the Savage Axe. This is a fang axe that has been thrown into a legacy chest. It's made from the jawbones of hyenas and deals bleeding to the enemy, which will often reduce combat time by a significant amount, especially if you're not super confident in battle. This allows you to block much longer and still be whittling away at those health bars. The Savage Axe also has an enchantment called Favorable Wind. This brings its attack speed up to the fastest 1.2 while also adding a bit of ethereal damage. It isn't much, but makes the weapon a lot more fun. Honestly, it feels like an upgraded version of the living wood axe if it were more melee focused. The added ethereal makes sure you always deal good damage even if you face golems who are more resistant to physical damage. The really cool combination you want to pair this with is the fabulous Palladium Shield. Use Shield Charge to inflict elemental vulnerability and good stagger damage. Then activate Talus Cleaver to apply pain. Your weapon deals both physical and elemental damage, which you have now weakened your enemy to both by 25%. I found this to be very strong against a number of enemies even without a varnish. And you still have the bleed damage. After everything is said and done, the Savage Axe feels very savage-like. It puts out great damage, and because it has such a fast attack speed, you can get in and out of fights without taking damage. Dodging attacks is much easier when your weapon doesn't feel as if it's dragging on the ground. Also, the purple glow from this weapon is cool. Makes a less significant weapon look just as awesome as some of those porcelain ones. At number 2, we have the Taunosaur Axe. For those of you who have never used this monster, it is the single most brutal weapon in Outward. With rows of sharp spikes, it is ripped from the fearsome Alpha Taunosaur. Even giants refuse to fight those beasts as they fear nothing and demolish their prey with a massive bite. Manage to take one down and you can craft the Taunosaur Axe to gain a fraction of their power. It swings with a 1.1 attack speed, letting you get multiple attacks in before enemies even know what has happened. Add in the insane levels of impact and you can put things on the ground as much as you like. The big advantage of this weapon is it allows you to be very aggressive, even more so than other one-handed axes. Activate one special attack and you do all the damage you need to. On top of this, extreme bleeding is applied in 3 hits, which drastically lowers an enemy's health bar over time. On humans, this extreme bleeding is all you need to take them down. Plus, this axe has decent durability at 250. This is one of the most well-rounded weapons as far as axes go, and adding a varnish will make you unstoppable. Unfortunately, there is one weakness to this monster. It's pretty darn short. You might as well be holding it by the blade because it doesn't reach very far. Luckily, this doesn't usually matter much as you get used to it after only a couple fights. And again, it has a lot of speed, so missing doesn't punish you quite as harshly. I do think the short design makes it look cool. Imagine dual-wielding 2 of these spiked slicers as the ultimate barbarian. The design alone is enough to make you want to use it for your build. It might be a bit troublesome to take down an Alpha Taunosaur, but trust me, this weapon is easily worth the effort. At number 1, we have Sunfall Axe. This is a porcelain axe likely crafted by the giants, and it's incredibly useful in Outward. Not only does it deal great physical and fire damage, but it applies burning after only 3 hits. Burning completely destroys anything in the early game, as humans, Scourge, and Hive enemies take massive damage from it. The enemies in the DLC regions are not quite as easy to take down with such a simple tactic, but the fire damage is still great to have on your side. I love the Sunfall Axe. It has a very lore-filled adventure to get it, and the fast attack speed lets you apply burning and stagger enemies in one fell swoop. It's a glorious weapon with classy looks and fire emanating from the blade itself. Pair this with a shield and nothing can stop you. Knock enemies over and then use one combo attack to burn and deal excellent damage. Obviously, you do run into one issue with this weapon. It deals fire damage, and there are several enemies in Caldera who are completely immune to such a thing. Luckily, one ethereal varnish will still make this guy work in any situation, and as long as you have something in your offhand to support you, the immunity won't even be that bad. I especially enjoy using this axe on Medees. Those floating jellyfish can be quite tanky and with elemental attacks that hit like a truck. Sunfall Axe just burns them away unless you keep your distance when they use their beam abilities. This axe is my personal favorite axe. It feels ridiculously overpowered in the base game and makes an excellent addition to any fire build. Also, it's got very high durability, which feels amazing after playing with the Living Wood Axe. And there you are, the top 5 axes in Outward Definitive Edition. These are all very strong if paired with the right armor, and each has a unique design as well. One axe left out of this list would be the Sandrose axe. You can make the argument that the unique axe found in Caldera is really good as well since it has extremely high physical damage with decent attack speed. However, I really dislike Blaze as a status effect for this weapon. Unless fully immune to fire, it's not going to see any use, and the negative 30% frost resist debuff feels pretty excessive. It's got amazing physical damage if you're looking for that, but again, it's one of those weapons that feels all over the place, so I could not include it on my list. All 5 of these other axes are super cool though. The Living Wood axe in particular is worth grabbing, if anything just because it feels made for a mage. Outward has always been great at adding stats to your character in many different ways. This type of thing is what makes build crafting so much fun. Hopefully you got something out of this list, and feel free to let me know what your favorite axe is. I just can't bring myself to use much other than the Sunfall. It truly is such a beautiful weapon. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.